Welcome back, guys. We've picked up a load of bits, including the frame, which you can see there, from Andy at New Tech Powder Coaters, and all the guys at New Tech, including Andy, have done a fantastic job. I'll show you the rest of the bits later that they've done. They've got some more stuff. They've got some engine bits and some other bits and bobs at the moment. But just look how well this frame has come out. It has come out really, really well. Okay. I'll show you a bit more in a second. And I've already gone ahead and replaced the headstock bearings. I've put a load of AC50 inside the frame and I've given it a coat of wax already. And what we're going to do today, guys, is start to put it back together. We're not going to get it rolling today. I don't think so anyway. And I'll show you why that is. It's a little job I want to do before I put the rear subframe back on. But we're definitely going to build the front end back up. We've got a couple of other little jobs to do, which you'll see in a bit. And I'll take you through all of the rest of the components that they have vapor blasted and powder coated for us. So I'm Dino. This is Patch's Repair Shop. If you haven't, smash that subscribe button, hit like and drop us a comment. All of that good stuff that is completely free of charge. And I will crack on with putting this 1983 Harley Davidson electrical eye back together. So like I said, guys, I've gone ahead and replaced the headstock bearing races inside here, both upper and lower. Here is the old ones here, not necessarily too much wrong with them, but for the sake of a set of bearings and while we're here, let's get it all done right. So they push in and out really, really easily. Brass drift to come out from the other side. And then I've got a bearing press that just knocks them straight back in. So that was nice and easy. And just look how well this frame has come out, guys. It really has come out well. Bubble wrap the bits to try and stop us from scratching it. But I don't know how well you can see it on the camera, but it really, really has come out well, especially compared to what it was like, scratched and rusty and 43-year-old paint. So yeah, fantastic. Well chuffed with that. Right, less waffle. Let's put it back together. Right, so before we can put the front forks back on, we've got to put some bearings onto the stem. That's the top part of the triple clamp, again done by the guys, all vapor blasted and powder coated and really nicely masked off. So there's a couple of little bits that need refitting to this, but this is the important bit. We've got the stem here. Okay, everything's come out really, really nice. I think it's going to look really good when it all goes back together, but we have got to get the new bearings back onto the stem. So let's check that they are the same bearing. So last bit is knocking it over there. So we need to work out a way of knocking that back over there. And also we've got to pack it out with grease, haven't we? There we go, guys. Nicely greased up. Nothing will remind me of being younger and at college than pressing grease into a bearing with the palm of my hand. So that's that done. You quickly saw how I done it. So piece of steel tube, and there's a brass bit which I just knocked over the end, and then that fits down over there like that, and we knocked it on. So bit of a homemade toolage there. Proper stuff I'm sure is available, but that's what we had, that's what we're using. Right, let's get it on the bike, shall we? Right, just in case you're wondering what I'm doing with all the nuts and bolts, unless they're stretch bolts or completely knackered, then they've all been in the ultrasonic tank and they've all been on the wire wheel and cleaned up everything, including all the spring washers. So everything's looking nice and fresh. Right, let's take it over to the bike. Got to put the seal in the top. Right, let me do it again. I bet you clever lot spotted what was going on already, didn't you? Right, that took me a little minute. Glad it was off camera. There was words. Bottom part of the stem, triple clamp, fork clamp was round the wrong way. Okay, so my own videos came in handy there, and the workshop manual, obviously. So certain bits were right. Top bearing, then the seal, and then we've got this top cap, which goes on there, and then we've got this nut, which goes on back on like that. Right, so that's torqued back up, and then we've got the top part of the clamp, which goes on there, and there is a shield that goes on there, so let me grab that. Right, and then we've got the shield that goes on here that not only acts as a locking tab for this top nut, it's also a relay holder. And I hope that the dash does fit over the top of this lot. No, that doesn't have to go on first. I knew this would be a puzzle. Right, so we've had a moment here. Might be time for a coffee break. We're as we should be. Okay, I've still got to talk this up, but I gave you a little piece of misinformation. That lower castellated nut was 35 Newton meters. This top nut is between 102 and 122. So I've rectified that off of camera. Apologies for that. Let's put the forks in and then we'll talk up the top, shall we? Right, guys, so we're going to get the forks in. So we've got our freshly rebuilt fork legs, which you can pick out in the playlist, which is linked in the description. So we've got our freshly rebuilt fork leg. We've got the little rubber cover that goes back over the top. And then we've got a polished, feels like stainless steel to me. We've got a polished cover which needs to go back over there first. And then we can pop this back in, hopefully. Right, next bit. This cover has to go on there like that, and there's a couple of big screws in the top. Right. Oh, that light above me is annoying me. Anyway, that looks better, doesn't it? Apart from that, why is there dirt there? Anyway, we'll have to polish the fingerprint marks back out of that in a minute. It's been polished up once already. Right, so that's one fork leg in. Get your words out, Dino. I had to take the top clamp off and then slide it over afterwards. So I'm going to do the same on the other side, and then I'll bring you guys back in and show you what's been done. Right, both forks are on. So again, top plate that holds the relays and also the locking tab for the nut. So now we can pop that on. So the clamps for these are 47 Newton meters. Right, last bit on the front, guys, is the tops of the forks. I haven't put any oil in yet, and I'm not going to. I know you don't see these, but I've just put these on the lathe, turned you can't see it, can you? Yeah, turned a nice little edge on them and given them a polish up. I know you don't see them, but at least we know that everything's done and is nice. So I'm not going to tighten those yet because we know we've got to fill it full of oil. And as I said, I'm going to put a little note on there so that I don't forget, but I know that you guys won't let me forget. Right, this has been a bit of a drama, but it does look so much better, guys. I've got cloths everywhere and bubble wrap everywhere to try and stop it getting damaged. So, right, frames powder coated, forks are rebuilt, clamps are powder coated, new headstock bearings, fork oils still got to go back in, all the bolts cleaned up, torqued up, Everything's polished up and it's looking really good actually. So it's nice to see them going back together. Right, now let me show you what's got to happen with the rear end next weekend. Right, let me show you what's got to happen with the rear end. Now the rear end is effectively done. All of this has been powder coated when we rebuilt the gearbox. You see that in our other Harley playlist. And what I did is I converted this from bushes, rubber bushes, to bearings. Okay, now I've done it myself. I didn't buy a kit. And I have got just a very, very small problem that we need to solve before I put it back together. So what I did before is I machined these up, okay, and I pushed 2 bearings, or 4 bearings, yeah, 1 in either side. Push them in, this goes in the back, and then these take up the difference that we lost when we had rubber bushes. So the gearbox fits in there. Now that works a treat. What happens is when you clamp it all together in the frame, we discovered this, I discovered this before, because there's nothing in the middle to stop the bearings moving in as you finally torque that swing arm bolt up, it pushes the bearing in and then you end up with a little bit of play. That's obviously no good. So what we've got to do is probably next week is we're going to take these back out like that. We're going to knock the bearings out and then we're going to get some more material, not this bit, but this is an offcut of what we used before. So father-in-law, stand by. There's an order coming your way. I'm going to get another piece of alley and turn it down to fit and make up the difference in between the bearings so that when we clamp it up, everything's got something to clamp against. Okay. That's the plan anyway. That in my head, that works a treat. So that's the plan for the rear swing arm anyway, and we'll probably attack that in next week's video. So you'll have to watch me doing a bit of lathe work. So let's pop that in there. Next thing I want to show you is the rest of the powder coating that's been done. Give you a sneak preview. Right, so this is everything else that's back from the powder coater so far. So we got the top of the dash, which has come out lovely. Again, everything is just a huge improvement. So we've got front calipers here have been done. There's another one in here. Front caliper. These are going to go back together with new pistons, seals, and everything. So they've all been done. Again, same with the rear caliper, all completely vapor blasted and powder coated. Then for the rear brakes, we've got the actuating rod for the rear master cylinder, and we've got a new rear master cylinder already, a chrome one. And then we've got the little bracket, which is actually a huge improvement. This generally had 43 years worth of dirt on it. It was twice the size of this before. So these will go underneath the bike to actuate the rear master cylinder. We've got the end caps for the swing arm, which have been cleaned and re-powder coated again. We've got this little plate, which has come out lovely because this was really rusty before. This goes on the back of the triple clamp that you've just seen me fit. So that's going to look a lot better. We've got another bracket here, which I am not going to lie, I can't remember where that goes, but I'm sure we'll work it out. Okay, but again, cleaned and re-powder coated. And the last thing, let me zoom out. Now this has like a textured finish. That's how it was originally. So that's how they've done it, with this like textured finish, which is very, very similar to what the gearbox has already had and what the engine is currently having. Okay, so that's come out really, really well because this was manky. Casting on this is terrible. So they've done a really good job on this one. So That's going to look nice. Obviously, the top of the dash, if I can show you somehow. Yeah, so the top of the dash, which is then gloss, goes over the top like that. Obviously, with the speedo in, okay, or the Bedford CF dashboard, as somebody called it this week, which I thought was quite amusing. Right, guys, that's it for this week. Maybe a slightly shorter video. I don't know. Let's see how the editing goes. The front end's back on, and we know what we're going to do next week as well. So we've got some progress, and it's frame with forks is better than a frame with no forks, right? So that was a little bit of a drama. Took longer than what we thought, but it's all back together now. So I'm Dino. This is Patch's Repair Shop. If you've made it this far, smash subscribe, hit like, drop us a comment, all of that good stuff that really helps us out. This is my 1983 Harley Davidson Electroglide restoration project. I'm Dino. Catch you next week, guys.